Hello, everybody. Sorry for the delay there. There were some technical difficulties. I'm still kind of battling through them, but this is my first live stream, so please let me know if there's anything that I need to adjust as far as volume goes, as far as the music volume, whatever. I'm trying to monitor the chat as well. So let's see here. Hello, Cookify Media. How's it going? You guys are having a good Saturday so far. You're seeing some echo, you said? Hey, thank you for that. Of course, I'm going to keep them up for sure. How's the quality for everybody? Is it okay? Is it bad? Is it okay? You're getting some buffering. Let me see here. Let me adjust the bit rate here on my OBS settings. Are you guys still getting buffering over there? Sad thing is I spent probably 2 hours this morning at least trying to get everything set up properly, and okay. All right, so you guys are getting buffering still. Let me drop the bit rate a bit more here. Let's see here. Does anybody know if I need to restart the stream for it to actually take effect? Okay, I think I'm back again. Let me know how the quality is, audio quality, everything. Can you guys hear the music? I know some people find it annoying, but okay, I'm not seeing any do you guys hear the music now? It might be so quiet that you can't hear it unless your volume's up pretty loud. Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and kick this off. So what we're going to be building today is we're going to be building something similar to ProductHunt. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with ProductHunt, but we're going to be starting the build at least. So essentially, ProductHunt is a place where people launch their products, usually indie hackers and companies will launch their MVPs here, and people can vote on them, upvote them. Obviously, the more upvotes it gets, the higher it moves up on the list. It can become trending. It's a great way to gain exposure to new products as you launch them. And I want to build something like this, but for projects or in progress projects, right? Because these are more finished projects or more finished products, and we want to do something with things that are still in progress. And then other developers could leave feedback to other developers. You could also post libraries here, for example, that are still in the beta stage. So something like that. It can give us, I feel like it'll give us some good opportunity to learn some more about SvelteKit, PocketBase, and yeah. And also, I'm starting out today with the repository that we built in the PocketBase and SvelteKit video on my channel. So just the basic authentication setup. I haven't done anything else to it, so that's where we're starting. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with this. I'll leave this tab up actually in here. And we're going to be using Daisy UI, Tailwind CSS, a few other libraries here, and then I'll, as I add them, I'll let you guys know. Cool. Okay, let me move my chat over here to the screen. Yeah. So I've actually done an image upload. Now, there is some difficulty that comes when you attempt to try to eliminate JavaScript entirely when you're dealing with multiple images, for example, in the same form. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to look into. And I again, personally haven't had the time recently to do a ton of research on it, but I think we can probably figure it out. Again, this is more so just a chill stream, not going to be super, tutorial formatted, just going to be me learning. So you guys can see how I learn things that I want to learn. And then I go usually and teach you guys once I learn them. Yeah, those are, PocketBase, SvelteKit, and Daisy UI are some of the top libraries right now. Hey, I appreciate the kind words, Magnus. All right, so right now all we have is just the basic authentication system that we built previously. We have one user, no collections, and we want to make something like this, right? It's not going to obviously have as many of the features as ProductHunt has, but we'll see how far we can get. So it looks like here that, let's actually just log in really quick. I think I have an account. Let me see here. Let me pull this up. Sorry, guys. I'm using my guest browser over here, and I actually made a second profile here that we can actually use for this. So let me see. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's go to ProductHunt. And if I sign in, okay, so when I go to create a new project, right, let's just see how they have this set up. So it wants a link to the product. So, no. Okay, so they're asking for the name of the product. They're asking for the tagline, links to the product, a Twitter account, and some topics. And then as far as image and media goes, they have the thumbnail that you guys were able to see from the on that main home screen. And then they have a gallery where you can upload, looks like we recommend at least 3 or more images, but it looks like they have, 8 images here in total. And then you can also add a YouTube video. They have the makers, so who worked on the product, pricing issues. We're not going to deal with any pricing because ours is going to be, again, free. Okay, so we're going to need name, tagline, links, and a description here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set up like the initial structure inside of PocketBase. And I apologize, I'm pretty bad at getting everything organized here. Well, I have to have all these extra windows up while I'm streaming to monitor everything, so. Yeah, I also come from React. That's the first framework that I learned. So SvelteKit is definitely much simpler, but it's also a little bit complex at the same time because you're thinking about things in a different way, I think, than, especially if you're using just React and not Next.js. It's an entirely different way of thinking about an application, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to create a new collection. I'm going to call this one projects. And then I'm going to add a new field. And I think the first field we said was going to be the name. We have tagline. So then field, so it'll be name. Minimum length, we'll make this 1. And the maximum, what are they using over here? 40, I think. 40. And then that's going to be required. It doesn't have to be unique. And then we'll also create the tagline field. And that'll be a minimum of 1. And looks like they're doing 60 here. I don't know if we want to make this required or not. I guess we will for now. You can always change it later. And then they have description, links, topics. We're not going to deal with topics just yet. We may implement that later on, but let's just start off with the basics here, and then we can add on additional functionality later on. So we'll do the URL. We'll just do a single URL, and we'll say URL as the type, and that's going to be required. And then we also have, I believe, description. And the description will be optional probably. Do they let me move forward without putting a description? It looks like they do. Well, that doesn't make sense. I think I have to actually submit it before they'll show me what I'm going to do here. So I think we'll just do, I don't know, a minimum of 1, I guess, and a maximum of 240. And we'll require this as well. Why not? Okay, and then obviously every project's gonna be owned by a user, right? So we're gonna set up a relation here, or a user, and we're just gonna call this user. Yeah, user's fine. Max select ones. There can be one. I know in ProductHunt you can have, I guess, multiple makers maybe. Maybe that's something we'll consider adding in the future, but let's just keep it simple for the time being. And we want to delete the record on user delete. Yes. So if the user deletes their account, for example, we want their projects to be deleted as well. We don't want them lingering without an owner. And that's going to be required. Does not need to be unique because they can have one user can be able to have multiple profiles. So, okay. So now that we have projects set up here, what we can also do is, I think what we'll do is go ahead and start setting up some of the UI to actually create a project and then also present the project. So I guess we'll start off with probably just creating the project. So let me go to the app real quick. Okay, so let me log in here real quick. Let's see here. So I have walt@example.com set up. And I don't like this logout button here. We're going to change that to like a profile picture. But for right now, we'll leave that alone. And we're going to set up, or actually we'll go ahead and change it now so we can fix the whole entire navigation menu. And I think I'm going to do something like this. Let's go to Daisy UI and check out their nav bars they have. So we can do something like this where we have a profile picture. We can set it to a placeholder for the time being, and then we can move obviously over to an actual avatar in the future. But we want to give them the option to have the profile settings and logout. And then we can also add, a button that says to submit a project or whatever. So let's do that. So it looks like they just add, where's that avatar at? This here is what we're looking for, I believe. So inside of our layout, we currently have the logout button showing if there is a profile, which now we're just going to show. Oh, that's the mobile menu. So this is the actual button that we're looking at right now. And it says navbar end. So we actually want to use, I believe, drop down end. Yeah, we should be able to use the drop-down in class here. Actually, this is what I'm looking for. Yeah. This div here. Will replace all of this. Yeah. And we actually need to probably wrap this in the navbar end still. So let's put this here and then, yeah, so there we go. So now it's at the end of the navbar and we don't need that new button. Then these labels are going to yell for having a tab index. And we'll actually turn this into a button. Okay. Cool. So now we obviously lost our logout button there. So let me see here. So I want to keep the login and register button. I just want to place this here. There we go. So now if we're logged out, we'll still see the login and register button. And then I can actually set this to the logout route, and I'll make this a form. I think it's /logout. Okay, there we go. So it does in fact log me out, and I'm getting the register. Okay. Cool. Okay, so now we can also add like a button beside of this that just says submit, and it'll take us to a submit page where we're going to set up a form to create new projects. So let's go ahead and do that now. And that'll go to the before this drop down button. There we go. Okay. So this will take us to a new projects page that we're going to set up here now. So we'll make a new route for projects, and then we'll create another directory in there called new, and then we'll have a page.svelte. And then we'll also need to have a page.server.js. And I'm actually going to rip, for now, we're just going to rip the register form entirely. And we'll fix this up to line up with our projects. Okay. So let's check this out. All right, so we have this register form here. We'll just say create a new project. And I'm editing the register form right now. Okay. Okay, so create a new project. Instead of doing this logo here, we'll just bring this up, and then we'll add like a, I don't know, a pencil here. Or we'll add like a, I don't know, let's see here. There. Okay, and then we'll say hey, you have a good one too, Magnus. Sorry for the slow start, guys. I'm really not used to doing all this live, so it's a Yeah, I did know that. Yeah, I did. I think I showed that on one of my videos that you can create a route. I probably should have done that, huh? Sometimes I just forget that it's there. Okay. So we're gonna need the name. Obviously, we're gonna need the name of the project. We're gonna need the tagline. So we're gonna change this to tagline. And then we have, what else do we have? We have a URL, a description. So we'll do URL next. And then let's see here. The description is going to be a text area. So we'll go grab one from Daisy UI here. That's going to go here. Instead of the input, we'll have this. There we go. And we'll change the name to description. We'll remove this placeholder. Okay. Cool. So name, tagline, URL, description, and then we also had, what do we had? We had an image too, actually, right? We need to have at least probably the thumbnail for now. So let's just edit this and add the thumbnail. And I'm trying to think if we should make the thumbnail required or not. What do you guys think? Should that be a requirement, or should we populate it with something like a default, image if they don't post a thumbnail, or should we require there to be a thumbnail of some sort? I think we'll leave it unrequired for now, probably, and then we'll look at adding a placeholder too if they don't one. Yeah. Are you asking if it should be required or if it should be place kitten in production? What's place kitten? Okay, it's a placeholder. Oh, a kitten placeholder. That's funny. And we could definitely do that. I usually use something like this. Let's see what it's actually called. Not this one. I use this one sometimes, but there's I think it's UI placeholders. Yeah. So if you put a name here, it'll just show the initials in the as the avatar instead of the name. Place kitten. That's funny. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind. Okay, so yeah, let's just make it not required for now, but we're gonna add an image field here, a file. We'll call this thumbnail. And then the max file size in bytes is this like 50? Is this 50 megabytes or 500 megabytes? 5 megabytes. We should probably just bring this to like 1 megabyte. So probably, or let's just say 2 megabytes. So we'll just do 2000 flat. I think it's 200,000. Or no, it's 2 million bytes for 2 megs. Okay. And then max file is 1. We can also choose presets here. So they have images as an option here that we can do. And that way it'll only allow these inside of our database. And then we can set up thumbnail sizes. So if we look at the PocketBase documentation real quick. And then we look at, let's see here, where is it? Images, file uploading and handling. Let me zoom this in real quick. So there's a file URL. So each uploaded file will be accessed by requesting its file URL. And then if your field has thumb sizes option, you can get a thumb of an image by adding the thumb query parameter to the URL like this. So we'll certainly want to do that. Yeah, so we'll certainly want to do that. So what are they using as like their size here? They're using 60 by 60, but that's when it's in the small window. Let me move this down to the bottom here. Okay, so they're using like 80 by 80 and then obviously 60 by 60 for smaller. Does it get bigger? I don't think it gets any bigger than 80 by 80. So we'll set that up as a thumb size. Are you guys getting any buffering on your end over there? Okay. So let's see here. So now we have the thumbnail. We can upload that. Trying to determine if I lost you guys or not, because YouTube is giving me some warnings right now about my stream. You are buffering over there. Yeah, I see I'm starting to drop some packets. Let's see here. I wonder if I stop the audio stream. I wonder if that will fix it a bit here. So we're still getting buffer errors. What about now? Are you guys still getting issues still? Doesn't seem like it takes it doesn't seem like it takes the bitrate changes into account immediately. All right, are you guys there still? If so, let me know how the current conditions are here. All right, is it buffering still or are we good to go? Okay, awesome, cool. I guess let's keep moving forward here. This VOD is going to be a little messy because of all of these technical difficulties, but I can assure you I'll get it sorted out, and each stream, hopefully I'll be able to fine tune the settings so we don't have to keep doing this back and forth. Okay, where were we? We were adding images to our projects, right? So we need to add a file input to this. So let's go into our form here, and then we'll change this to add project, and then we'll add another one of these divs, and we'll say thumbnail. And it's going to be an input, actually, not a... It's going to be of type file. And then I don't think it's matter. I think it's going to take over. Yeah, so we definitely... Wait. Oh, I need to take that height off there. And I don't want this to be an input bordered. I'll just set this up as, I guess, in nothing. Yeah, I guess that's fine for now. So we also need to adjust our form to take in multi-part form data. So we can say that the ink type is multi-part form data, like this, right? And then instead of posting to register, we'll post to create. And then we'll have to set that action up, of course. Okay, so let's set up the action, and we're going to go into our page.server.js, and we're actually going to use Zod for form validation. I actually haven't ever validated an image. I know that we can validate the image. We can check to see if it's to make sure it's it's underneath the maximum size. We can also make sure that it's the right file type before it gets to our database, right? We don't want someone to upload a massive file and have our server process that. Really, we should be handling the file uploads from the client, which we're also going to look into if they can. But for now, we'll do everything server side, and then we'll start to add some additional things later on. So I don't think I have Zod installed in this project, so let me just install that. And then we're also going to use, I think it's called Zod Form Data. And it actually was built, I believe, for Remix, the React framework, I guess you could call it. But it basically allows you to just pass in your form data directly. So it skips a couple steps. It also deals with the issue where everything coming from form data is a string, right? So like numbers, for example, or, you can actually set this up to say zfd.numeric, for example. This knows that it's a number, and then it's going to actually be able to, it'll convert it into a number, and then it can actually run the regular Zod validations on that. So we're going to use this, and we're going to use Zod. So we'll install Zod and Zod form data. And then we can use it like this. We're going to get Zod first. And then we're going to say ZFD. And then we'll set up a project schema, which we're going to have as ZFD.formData. And then we're going to have the name, which is going to be, let's see here. How do I want to do this? But I wonder, will it still return the same error messages? That's my question, though, before I use this library. So it's part of this remix validated form. So I guess it should still handle things the same way that, but I guess I wonder what I'm going to get back as the object, or how it's going to handle the images file. ZFD instance of file. I think Supabase is great. I think it's pretty expensive though when you consider, like, if you're dealing with multiple projects. If you want to have multiple projects, I guess I think you can only have 3 or so free projects, or 2. I think SQLite has proven recently to be much more capable than people thought it was in the past, or than the reputation it generally has. On top of that, you can host PocketBase yourself. It's a single executable file, which means it's super easy to drop into a container and then deploy on Linode or DigitalOcean or wherever, right? And it has a lot of the same functionality that Supabase has. But I think as far as, like, if you're trying to build an enterprise application or something that would scale, I think that obviously you'd want to go with Supabase. But I don't have a preference. I've used both. They actually recently redid their SvelteKit auth helper because for a while they were a little bit behind getting their auth helper up to date with the latest changes in SvelteKit. So for a while there was some weird workaround that I was using that somebody contributed, or somebody had mentioned in the issues. But it looks like when I checked the documentation yesterday, it looks like they actually updated it quite a bit. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter though which one, what you choose. You can build your own database. I really don't think it matters. Whatever's easiest to you, whatever gets you to where you want to be as fast as you can get there, right? With as little friction as possible. Yeah, of course. So I think we're going to come back to this for right now, because again, I don't want to spend a million hours doing this. So I'm just going to set things up the way that I know. We are going to take in zfd.form data, because that'll just handle like the parsing of the form data for us. But I'm going to just keep regular Zod in here, and then maybe later on we'll move into actually using some of those numeric and number values. So I'm going to set this up the way that I know how, and then we'll set the tagline. It's also a string. Minimum is 1. Maximum is actually going to be 60 on this one, if I recall. Did we call this URL? Yeah, we did. Okay. And then .url. We set this to 260, right? 240. And then thumbnail, I think that if we try to do, I want to say doing something like this with Zod, we actually have to build like, yeah, so I think we have to actually like go into the blob itself and check. For now, let's set this to z.any. Again, I definitely want to validate the files here soon, but again, I want to go ahead and start getting things rolling here for our project. And then we're going to have some actions, of course, which is going to contain the create method or create property. And it's going to take in request and locals. And then what we'll do is we'll actually set up a form object, and then we're going to run a try catch block. So we'll say form object equals project schema dot parse, and then we'll say await request dot form data, and then dot user we're going to set to the currently logged in user, so locals dot user dot id, and then we should be able to, we actually need to serialize, we're going to have to serialize the, so I think when it gets passed back to PocketBase, right, it has to get passed back as, let's see here. So it says that we actually have to upload the files by sending a multi-part form data request using the record/create records API. Latest one, 528 has some issues with the root page.server not generating this file. Let me see what version I'm using. So I just installed this, so I'm using the latest one right now. Is that a known issue right now? Yeah, I see that here. So it's not going to return any data from this, essentially, right? From this, from any of the, or from the root page.server, or is it any of them? Yeah, so we're obviously going to need to use that because we're going to have to go out and get all of those projects to display on the home page. When was that released? Yesterday, I see. Okay, so I'll just downgrade then to 527 then, right? Yeah, I noticed that he was refactoring some stuff. I wonder what broke that though with the changes. So yeah, let me just uninstall SvelteKit. I wonder if I have to also adjust that adapter. I don't, maybe not. Is it at SvelteJS/kit? Okay. All right, so we should be good on 527 now. Thanks for letting me know about that, actually, because I would have probably spent a bit of time looking into that if that happened to me. Because I just installed this today. So, yeah, thank you. Okay. Okay, so back to what we were saying. So since PocketBase is expecting us to send this as multi-part form data, we're actually need to convert this object back into a form data object with the image. So there's actually a library that we can use. I think it's called object of form data. There may be an easier way to do this. I'm not too sure. But this is what I've used in the past. So we'll just use this. And then all we have to do is import serialize, and then we just pass our object into that serialize function, and then it will give us a multi-part form data object. So you can see here, you can also add objects or options and other things to it as well. So let's just say const form data equals, I don't think we actually need to await this. Import serialize from, and then we'll just serialize the form object, right? And this will come into, when we go to add images in the gallery, this is actually going to make a difference, especially if we go to add multiple images, because I want to say that this is going to give them the same exact, or it's going to try to adjust the way that their names are, because obviously two objects or two properties, you can't have two properties with the same name inside of an object in JavaScript. So it would then mess with that object. So we can actually create a form data object and then append all those new images to it once we get to that point. So yeah. So now let's just actually try to create this. So again, this try is to catch anything on any issues with parsing the schema. And then we'll actually set up a record. And we're going to create a new projects record. And then since we have that user's ID there, and then the request is going to come from this user, we should be okay. I will have to adjust the API though, the API rules inside of PocketBase to allow this user to create a record. I think right now it's, and by default it's set to, obviously admins are the only ones that can actually create records. So if we catch an error, we'll just console log the error for now. And then we'll also throw an error. 500, and we'll say something went wrong during project submission. And then we'll catch down here as well. So if the error status is 500, which means that there was something beyond the project schema.parse messing up, right? We'll throw an error. Actually, no, this is going to catch. So actually, this is going to catch this error. So basically, if we get an error while creating it, we're going to throw in a 500 back into this try block, which is then going to catch that error. And then we're going to actually, throw an error, which will then get returned to the, which will then redirect the user to an error page, right? Okay. So then we need to actually take, so right now we're submitting this form object. But if it's not, okay, so if it's not 500, then we actually need to catch the errors that come from this project schema.parse. So then we can say field errors. And again, I went over this in one of my video on form validation. So basically we're going to flatten the error object, and then it's going to give us field errors back that we're just going to rename to errors. And then we'll return invalid, and we'll return back data as the form object, right? And then, because that's where, yeah, that's fine. We'll return back the form object as data, and then we'll also return the errors. And then if everything is fine, I think we can just redirect them to the home page for now. What is dirty components? That's weird. Svelte internal. That's funny. Okay, what's the error I'm getting here? Oh, of course. Okay, so now we have the ability to create a new project. Let's go into PocketBase and adjust the API rules here. So we want everyone to be able to list the projects, right? Because the site is like ProductHunt right now is public, so anybody can see the projects. We just want to control who can edit them and who can create them. So if we click on the PocketBase filters, syntax, and operators, they give us some more information. So one of the things that they do is saying, okay, if you only want to allow registered users to create one, we can say @request.user.id is not equal to an empty string. But I think my concern is with just doing that, then I wonder if anybody could create a record for anybody. And I actually haven't tested this out yet to see, like, if I just make an API call instead of going through my client here, if I just make an API call, could I just create a record and assign it to, let's just say, some other user? I don't know. So I think we can actually restrict this a bit further. And we can say @request.user.id is not equal to empty. And then I think we can use and the @request.user.id is equal to, I want to say that we should be able to get the incoming user ID. But when it's created, I guess it's going to be still in the request. So maybe it's going to be @request.data.user. I think that would work. Then this thing will be, okay, so let's just save this and see if this works. Let me see here. Let me figure out where I think I have some images. Yeah, okay, so I have some images here that we can use. So we'll set up Google first, and then we'll say search the web. And the description is going to be there we go, something corny like that. And then for the thumbnail, we'll just put the Google logo here. It's a WebP file. And let's see here. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something at the moment. Something went wrong during project submission. So let's see what happened here. Failed to create record. Description, name, tagline, URL, user. I'm missing something here. I have name, tagline, URL, description, user, thumbnail. So it's some type of validation error. Name, tagline, URL, description. Oh, wait. Why am I passing form data here? Wait, no, I do want to pass form data. Oh, it shouldn't be an object, I don't think. Now I think this should work. And we'll pull this Google logo over here. Again, so now it's the thumbnail object itself. Oh, wait. Let me go into my projects here. I think for the thumbnail, I don't have WebP. You can do it like that. Let's try this again. Third time's a charm, right? Okay, so that seemed to be successful there. Let's check our PocketBase. Okay, cool. So we do in fact get that Google logo. We get the user, which is walt@example.com. And it does in fact give us that project. Cool. All right, so at the moment we have the bare minimum project creation functionality. I think we can also add, let's think here. So now obviously we want to be able to display the projects. So maybe we work on that now, is actually displaying those projects here on this page. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do next, is we'll just display the projects. Okay. So let's go to our, we actually need to create something first though. We're actually gonna need to create like a, some type of card here. So I have PocketBase or ProductHunt over on another window as well, so I can look at the styles, but we also need to create something similar to this, like a card of sorts where we can show the projects, right? And let's see here. Okay, so we'll do that. We're gonna make a new folder inside of our lib called components, and then we'll also create a new file called project card. It's really like a project list item. It's not really a card. Yeah, we'll call it project list item. And then we'll set a div, we'll set a background of, let me actually get this on this page real quick. So on the page.svelte, we'll come here and then we'll just say, what do they have? They have your next favorite thing. And then underneath that, we'll just add our project card here. So it looks like we need a couple different flex boxes. If we look here, so it looks like we're gonna need, let's see. So let's just go ahead and start making this, I guess. So in our page.svelte, our home page, we'll just say project list item. Okay. So we're gonna change the background to white. We'll set a shadow. We'll say the width is full. The height, we'll start at 28. And then we'll also make this flex box. Items will be center, and then we'll justify between. Yeah, I think so. And then the first thing that we're going to need is an avatar. Essentially, it's we're going to show the thumbnail for the logo. So let's find avatar here. And we'll just do like one of the basic ones here. Okay, so looks okay so far. We definitely need to add some padding, but let me just get all the core structure here first. And then, so this will be one div here, right? And then we're also going to need another div, which will be columns, flex columns here, which will, yeah, so let me just go ahead and get some of this structure set up and just see what it looks like. And then we'll also need a few different here. So we're gonna have the title. So there's like a lot of space between both. So these two are stacked and then these two. So there's space in between, a bit of space in between these two. So we can separate that. So we can just say, make a text large. And then okay. And then we'll need to do, let's see here, what do they have? Comments, and then free options. I'm just gonna put the comments icon here, I think, with the comment number. I think we're gonna skip out on the free options in the tag for now, since we don't even have that piece created yet. So I think I'm using Svelte icons here. Let's see here. Yeah, so let's see, let's get a comment icon here. FA comment, and then we'll run okay. Okay, so it's looking a little bit better here. So I think that we're going to need to do something. I guess we'll make this a button for right now. But eventually it's going to have to be like a form. We have to wrap this in a form, right? Because when someone clicks this up vote button here, we want to actually go and submit a form to create a vote for that project. And then we're going to want to display the number of votes here as well. So we can actually find an icon that looks like that. Let's see here. The FA caret up will work just fine. And then we'll just, I guess, create a new button. So our columns, make a button, and then let's see what this is going to look like. How are they doing this here? Okay, so looks like we're going to add some padding. Okay, so now let's add some padding to the entirety of this card here. And there we go. That looks pretty solid. My corners rounded? I didn't add in rounded corners. Okay, so that looks pretty decent, I would say. I don't know if these are spaced out properly though. I feel like there's slightly how are they doing it here? I guess this is probably fine for now. Yeah, this will do for now, I guess. All right, so I know that I'm eventually have to make this a form. So now we have the project card. Let's begin to take in, I guess, some of the data. And I don't know if I like, is that enough padding there? I don't really know if I like this wrapped in a card like this. I might just change the background of the application and then do it similar to how they have it, where they'd have like just a list here. So I think that's what I'm going to do actually. So let's go into our layout. I think is where we have it defined. BG base 200. And then inside of here, we'll just remove the shadow. I guess the rounded could get removed as well. And how do they separate them? I guess they're just separated through space. Okay, so let's go ahead and get all of the data from our projects now and then start to like display them here. So let me actually just create another project. Wait, why was that weird? Okay. So let's create another one. We'll call this Dog Nation. And then for this thumbnail, I'll get this dog logo here. Okay, so everything seems to have worked as expected there. We were able to add another one. I can actually create another user too. I should probably do that. And then we'll create a project with this one. And then I'll set this to my YouTube URL for example. I just don't want to use anyone's actual domains. I'm not sure what domains haven't been used, but I also want to show that we're actually getting redirected to that domain. And for this one, using the dog logo. Okay, cool. So now we have 2 users. We have I think 4 projects total, or 3 projects total. One user owns 2 projects and the other owns another one. Okay. So now let's go about actually loading this data here and then displaying it inside of our component, and then we're going to render that component multiple times. So this component here, we're going to render it, for as many projects. I think we'll start out with 10, and then we'll implement pagination and such too. So inside of we have a page. We don't actually have a root page.server.js yet, so let's add that. Okay, so we're going to take in locals for sure, right? And then we're going to define a get projects function. It's going to be asynchronous, and then projects, and we actually need to, I'm going to need to serialize. I believe I already have a helper created for serialized non-POJOs, which if you're unfamiliar with this, the objects we get back from PocketBase are not going to be POJOs, so we have to serialize them or else we won't be able to, do things with them. And I talk about this in the authentication video. Okay, so serialize, non-POJOs. And then we're going to await locals.pb.records.get. I guess I could get the full list for now, but I really want to probably just get what is it? It's get list, and then I can set what page number and then how many records are shown per page. We're probably going to want to implement pagination at some point, so I guess I'll just start off by showing, 10 projects or 20 projects, and then we can implement pagination later on with this. So we're going to say locals.pb.records.get, get list, and then from projects, we'll say 1, and we'll just say, 10 projects per page, or 15 projects per page. And then we don't need to add any filters. I guess we could obviously sort it for now. We'll eventually want to order it probably based on votes, votes that day or something, potentially, or total votes. I'm not sure how we'll do that. We'll get to that point when we get there, but we can just sort it right now by created. Okay, and then we now have projects. So we should be able to return projects, right, once that's done. And then our load function will return projects, is going to be get projects like this. So now inside of our page.svelte, if we console log data, we can see that we get profile, projects, and then we get some pagination information, and then we get items. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we do have access to that. So now what we can do is inside of this, we can actually set this up to be, probably have how much space, I guess, between these two. Then we'll set up an each block here. We'll say data.projects.projects. That's why I personally prefer to use TypeScript. I know that a lot of my viewers are not using TypeScript, or at least that's the feedback that I've got received. So that's why I'm doing this in regular JavaScript. But TypeScript definitely helps with things like this. You actually get IntelliSense for things like this, right? .items as project. And then we'll render this out, and we'll actually pass project here. So then we can come into our actual component, and we'll take in project. So then instead of the image source, instead of being a placeholder image, we'll want to get the image URL. Let's see here. Okay, so each file is accessed using its file URL. We want to get that 80 by 80 thumb that we created. Okay, so they have a URL set to, they actually have a helper method we can use to get file URL, which will return the file URL. So maybe we do that inside of our load function. So let's see here. Okay, so once we have the record, so let's see here. Inside of our load function here, so maybe I shouldn't serialize it yet because we actually need to pass it back, but I also need to have access to it so I can get the file name. Let's see here. So maybe let's take this serialized non-POJs out for a second. Say record, and then wait, that's gonna be, we're getting a list though here. I know I could easily implement this by just setting up a helper function. I was just trying to see if this would be, because I'm not gonna be sure if this actually, like this client.records that get file URL, I believe we actually have to pass it the record. I don't think it can take in the record ID. Like they're passing this record here, which means that I don't think that we can do that. So I think that we should probably just set up some type of function to enable us to do that. Let me close all this out. It's driving me insane. Yep, it's fine. Okay, so inside of our helpers, let's just construct a little helper function here that'll construct a image URL when we pass it a few things. So we're gonna need the collection ID or name, the record ID, and the file name. So we can say export const get image URL. And we'll set this, we'll take in the collection, we'll take in the record ID, we'll also take in the file name. And then we're gonna return I wonder how many more times I'm going to use this URL here. I should probably just set up an environment variable for this, or a constant. Yeah, I'll probably just set up an environment variable for this. I think we're gonna use localhost for the time being. You pass that in the object instead and return the URL. You're talking about passing in that object in their built-in method? Or you're talking about in this helper function? I guess I could just pass in the entire object, right? And because I would get access to all this information here. The problem is that if I want to return, like, let's just say, yeah, so I could do, like the whole object. But then I think if I get like I think our goal is going to be eventually to add multiple images. Like they have galleries set up here on ProductHunt. So I think that if I was to pass in an entire object and it had, let's just say, multiple images instead of just having the one, I think it would make things more complicated. Let me know your thoughts on that. So if I had, for example, let's just say I had an gallery, for example, or images, for example, as an additional field on my project object, and it had, let's just say, 5 images. If I pass the whole object here, you know, what is it going to return me? I guess it could potentially return an array of image URLs, but even then, I think that's going to... So the way I've thought about it too is that we're going to have access to all this information everywhere we're going to be displaying that image. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. Yeah, so there will be, there's going to be multiple images. So I'd have to, and this will allow me to use this same method as well with any of the, any images I have across the site. So if we have like a user avatar or anything else, we should have access to both the collection, the record ID, and the file name. Localhost 8090 is going to be the URL, which I guess I'm going to probably change some of these here in a short minute. But for now, I know I'm probably going to need to use this, and I'm going to want to change this when I go to actually deploy the application. So if I could just change this environment variable, then that would make things much easier for me. Okay, so return, and then we'll say is it env static private or env private static? Static private. And then we have API files, and then it's going to be the collection, and then the record ID, and then the file name. And then I guess we could also pass in like an optional thumb size. Okay, so it says that the original file will be returned if the requested thumb size is not found or the file is not an image. I guess we could take in like thumb here. Let's just see what this will look like. I'm actually gonna make that size. And we'll set defaults to I don't know if this is gonna be the best way to do this. I'm trying to think here. So if we're looking for a different file though, which we may eventually want, I guess this is only getting images. And so if we set it to something that doesn't exist, so if the requested thumb size is not found, then I guess we could just set something, random then, right? We could just set the default to whatever, because that way it'll return the default image size if we don't pass size here. So let me just see what that looks like. Okay, so for this, we now have access to the project, which means we have access to the collection, record ID, file name, and size. Well, and not size, but record ID, collection, and file name. So we should be able to use this here. So we can import get image URL from and then it's gonna be project at collection ID is what I think it looks like. And then we're also gonna need the record ID. So project.id and then project.thumbnail. And then for this one, we'll set the size to 80 by 80. Okay, so that doesn't work. What are we getting here? Okay, so it's because I have this in public facing code. I'm trying to think if we need any of these methods in. I just broke a bunch of things. Let me go and fix that. Yeah, okay. So I guess for this we could let me just change that back. It's because it's rendering on the page. And for now, I'm just going to set it up here, and we can figure that piece out a little later. Okay, so my thumbnails are still not loading here. Yeah, so oh, it's because I put HTTPS. Oh, it's not an HTTPS. There we go. Okay. Why does this look much bigger than the rest of these? I think I'm actually resizing it too on this side as well. I guess it's because they are just smaller. They have yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. Yep. So my question is though, is this happening with my actual, yeah, so I think it's just the actual images that I have. Yeah, I have a bunch of white space around the images. If you see here, I have a ton of white space around the images, whereas the Google image doesn't have that white space. And I just pulled these from Google. So let me actually probably go and find some different logos here. Something like this would be fine. Of course, it's going to actually show. Yeah, I like the stock websites that show the preview as it's transparent, but really the background's not transparent. It's my favorite. Okay, that should be fine. We're gonna be fine with this for now. All right. Now let's go, I guess we can populate the rest of this information here into our piece. So let's just close out of some of this stuff here. you guys getting buffering over there again on your end? Yeah, so I think that YouTube said, I see I'm dropping some frames again. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I need to sort out the issues I'm having with this buffering. I'm not sure if something else is eating at my bandwidth, but I need to sort that piece out. I don't want to keep stopping and restarting the stream. So yeah, I'm gonna stop the stream. I'm gonna try to figure out all of my. Okay, so you are getting. Let me see here. Do you have a lovely woman that lives in this house with? Okay, I think we're back live again. Okay, is everybody there? Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, if that happens again, I'll probably just call the stream quits for the time being and then try to work out the connection. Sorry about that. Again, I'm a rookie streamer here, so bear with me. I can promise you I'll learn and we'll improve moving forward. Okay, where were we? All right, we're displaying the projects now. Actually, I want to make these maybe a bit smaller. I think that right now I have the width set to 96. And we have our thumbnail set to 80. So we can make these a bit smaller here. And then let's see here. We're also populating all of the titles. We're populating, we actually need to populate this URL here too. So we can say project.url. So Google takes us to Google, and we actually want to make this let's see here. Actually, we don't want to redirect this to, we don't want to have this go to the website. We actually want to bring up the projects page eventually. So in this case, we're actually going to set this to, let's see here. Just leave this alone for now. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to try to implement is, I think, the voting functionality. So let's think here. How do we do this? We're going to set up a votes table for sure, or a collection. So we'll call this votes. And then all the votes are going to be the user who voted, and then the project that they voted for. And then we do want to delete this record on relation delete. This is also required. And then for the API rules, who can list the votes is going to be anybody. View, same thing. For create though, we're going to set request.user.id is not equal to none. And the request.user.id is equal to request.data.user. Because that's going to be that user field to make sure that the person who's requesting to create this vote is the user that the vote is being counted for. And then I think the update, which I don't really know if, I'm not too sure. We don't even really need an update. I think what we're going to do is we're going to have either a vote is going to be there or it's not going to be there. I don't think we're going to have to update the vote. So I'm actually going to just turn this off and then I'll do delete. I'll set delete to this. Okay, so how do they handle junction tables in PocketBase? So we can expand relations, but so this is essentially our exact use case here. Yeah. So I want users to be able to vote. When they vote, I want it to create a new record in the votes collection with that user mapped to the project that they're voting for. And I don't want to create a record on the project itself, because then I believe I'd have to give that project update. Like if I actually added an individual, let's say a votes field. Yeah, PocketBase is 100% free. It's self-hosted, open source, pocketbase.io. You can be up and running in like 5 seconds, really. It's self-hosted though, right? So that's something to take into consideration. Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna. I could do project ID, or I guess you're right. But then we have no cascading. So I know with like Superbase, it's pretty easy. I'm pretty sure they automatically detect. Yeah, so you can yes, you can query foreign tables through a join table here, where the tables aren't directly related, but instead are joined by a join table. I could certainly make this probably simpler and just put in the project ID in the vote table, but I'm not sure if would that be the best practice in this case? Especially when you consider, I guess, the cascading and then. Let's read this here. So this person essentially has the same question I have. These events and users, and then every user to be able to respond with interested in, or going to each event. In our case, we just want to have voted or essentially. And build a query for a list of events with all user responses to be able to display how many and which users are going to each event in the list view. So he actually has 3. He has, yeah, so this is like what we have. So ours, the events in this case will be projects. Responses would be votes. And then we have users, of course. Yeah, so projects get deleted if the user deletes it or if the user deletes their account. The projects will cascade. So this individual here does a couple different approaches. It looks like they're doing event responses and users. I think approach. This looks like so this is one of the maintainers. Approach 2, without the responses relation in the events table. Yes, you have to make additional requests to get the responses, but maintaining the relation in 2 places is not ideal either. Okay. And indirect expands. That's really what we're looking for, is like an indirect expansion. So this guy brings up a good point. He talks about that they have to make queries for every single event. Okay, so both of these issues are still open, so they haven't been implemented yet. Let me see here. Okay, I think we can do something like this. I'm trying to think here. So it's on the roadmap, but it's still in progress. Okay, so I guess we can just do it the manual way that they explain. Here to make things a little bit more tricky. Okay, so first I guess let's handle the creation of a vote. And we're gonna take care of that inside of the card, or the project list item itself. And we're gonna need to have an endpoint set up inside of the page.server here. We're gonna have to have some actions. And then it will be vote. And then we're gonna need to get out the user ID, right? Because inside of our table here, we have votes, and then each vote needs a user ID and then the project. So we'll say and then we need to make sure that we don't want the users to be able to vote twice. So we need to actually check to see if they have an existing vote or not. So basically we're gonna go and look and pretend like this user may already have, or may have already voted. And we can just get the full list here. And I'm gonna check to see if I could obviously run get one, but that's going to throw, if there's not one, it's going to throw a 404. But if I get the full list, it's going to return an array. So I think I can do filter, and then we're going to add a filter here, and we're going to filter where the user is equal to the locals.user.id. I'm actually going to wrap this in double quotes. Okay, so we're filtering where the user is equal to the currently logged in user, and the project is equal to the ID that we're going to submit from our project list item here in a second. And we'll sort it, I guess, by created. It's fine. I don't think it really matters, to be honest. And then we'll check if the existing vote length is less than 1. Then we want to create a new vote. we'll create a new record in votes, and the user is going to be the locals.user.id, right? And then the project will just be this ID. And we're going to get this from a form submission on our project list item, which will have access to that project ID, right? Else, so if they do have a vote, we actually want to so here when they do this, I click this button and then I click it again and it removes my vote. So I want to do something similar here. So basically, if they already have a vote, then we want to delete that vote. So we'll get that vote. So we have access to existing vote already. And it's going to be an array. So I think what we could do is we can serialize that, and then we can get out the first entry, which, because there's only going to be one, there should only ever be one here. And then so existing vote isn't going to be an array because we're getting the full list. We're then checking to see if it is less than 1, meaning that it's 0. I guess I could just say 0 here. Then we want to create a new vote. If there is a vote there, we're going to take the existing vote, the first one, and then we're going to delete it. So we can say await locals delete from votes. We're going to delete vote.id. Yeah. We also need to catch our errors here. Okay. So I'm looking again here and it's showing that I'm getting some buffering happening again. Are you guys experiencing that on your side as well? Let me know if you guys are experiencing buffering. I'm seeing here that I'm dropping a pretty substantial amount of frames on my end. I need to figure out why it's doing that. Okay. How will you know the result of a new or update? So we're not actually going to update. Okay, let me just do a quick adjustment here to my bitrate. Okay, I think we should be live again. Is everything okay for you guys? Okay. It's a good question, actually. I should be able to check to see if I see what you're saying about check if it's going to be an updated or not. I could potentially look up inside of the votes. I could potentially look up to see if the users voted based on, I'm not sure actually. We'll get there though, I think. Okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out, I think, when we get there. Yeah, for now, again, I just want to get the functionality down, and we can figure all that stuff out later. I'm pretty confident we can do it though. Okay. So now that we have this vote action set up, now we should be able to go into our project list item here and actually define a form. And let's see here. That'll be where this button is. Oops. The action is going to be vote, and the method is going to be post. And then we will set up an input here, and it will have the value of the project.id with a name of ID. Because remember, inside of our vote action here, we're taking the ID from the form data, so we definitely need to pass that in. It's going to be hidden. The user doesn't need to see it. And then the button is actually already here. So we'll turn this into a type submit. Okay, so let's just first see if when I upvote one of these, if I get a vote back. Okay, so it seemed to have worked. Let's look. So we can see that I have a vote. I just voted for Toidu, the project. Can't you subscribe to votes? Yeah. Let me see what that would look like. So my question with this though is that if I wanted to let's say I want to make this with friendly without JavaScript, right? I wonder if this will still work. Can I even do real-time subscriptions in that case? Now, obviously I could use this again on the enhancement side of the house, but I think for what are your thoughts on that, Cookify? Yeah, I haven't messed with the real-time subscriptions in PocketBase yet. I've really only messed with them in Firebase, the React application. But that can be something we may look into in the future. So I'll keep that in mind. But our vote did go through as expected. Now we need to determine, okay, how are we going to so what I need to do is actually be able to detect if the user has voted, right? So that's one thing, because if you notice here on ProductHunt, I can tell that I've voted because this changes to a different color, right? And then I also need to get the total number of votes for any given project, right? But the problem with that is that if I do this here, then it's only going to happen on the client, or think here what the best way to do this is. Let me think. Because ideally, I want to get all of the, so like right now, for example, on this page here, if I want to display all of the votes for this specific project, I can't do so. On top of that, if I was to make a request here, for example, to go out and get, you know, let's just say the votes for a project for each of these projects, then I'm going to run a request to the database for every single one of these projects that loads here, which I don't want to do. Ideally, we'd have like project.votes or project.something, for example. So which means we could potentially manipulate this inside of our load function. So with that GitHub, what is this individual doing, or what did he recommend? So I don't, so what I can do is, if we look here at this, at the docs, I'm not sure if you guys can see this or not. Let me zoom it in a bit. So we can eager load the responses in a single request manually by extracting first the event IDs, or in our case, it'd be project IDs, and then applying them as a filter with an OR condition. Once fetched, you'll have to group them manually. You could store them in a map indexed by the event ID. So let's just see if we can implement something like this. So let me think here. So I know we can create a project filter like this, and we could just say const projects, call this ID filter, and we'll say projects.map, and then for each project we'll say project equals, and then we'll take the project ID, right? So that's going to give us an array, and then we can run a join here. Have an extra. Okay, so this is going to give us an array, project.map project. We're going to make a bunch of entries in an array with project equals, which is the filter syntax for filtering out projects. So we want all the projects with this ID. And then I'm going to join them with these, with the OR notation, which is what they expect inside of like the filter, which would go inside of here, right? So now we have that filter. We can get a vote list, and we'll serialize this because it's going to come back as a non-POJO. And we'll get the full list of votes, and really we could just do like however many here, because there could be over X amount of votes. I'm not too sure what we would put there. A number that I guess would exceed any possible vote count. And then we can set up the filter, and the filter will just be the project ID filter. So let me just see what we get back here before I get too far ahead of myself. Projects.map is not a function. Oh. That's because this is not a full list. This is just there's no pagination here. Yeah, so this is going to be the equivalent of this in SQL. So it's, yeah, it's an inner join. So if we get the full list though, that'll be an array. I could just do, I guess I could do, instead of projects, I could do projects dot items dot map. Okay. So there's only one vote that exists right now. And then as you can see, when I go to add more votes, now I have voted on all three of them. I now have three total votes, right? 3 votes. If I click this button again, I should, the requested resource was not found. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take a break here. My girlfriend just got home, and I'm going to probably make dinner here shortly, but I may stream again later tonight. So I think it's a good stopping point. I know I'm in an error right now, but I promise I won't solve this error until I'm back on stream. But yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully the next stream I'm not going to have as many buffering issues, but I do appreciate all of you guys for hanging out. Hopefully we can keep moving forward with this project as the days go by. I'll see you all later.